admit to myself that I was an atheist, that was the biggest hurdle, was the stigma attached to this word. I mean, I came from a very secular household, a very liberal household, and even then, the deep entrenchment of that word as something negative and something you need to run away from, it was there. It was there culturally. And even though my mom was incredibly liberal and tolerant, I was afraid at like age 17 to tell her that I was an atheist. There was just something, I think I went from calling myself non-practicing Catholic, which is like I don't even know, that doesn't mean anything. That means actually less than spiritual. And I went from that to calling myself agnostic to finally admitting I was an atheist. And I think that there was a real, felt like a weight off of me.
Anyway, thank you so much for the email, David. It's a great question and a good discussion. So anyway, I'll finish up my little tale about the Family Guy episode here, and then you can move on to the character I know you're dying to talk about. Toward the end of this Family Guy episode, Brian ends up being dragged. He pretends like he is a believer. Meg kind of takes him along to a book burning, and they're throwing on this huge pyre books that are harmful to God. And the books they toss on the fire, I was amused to note: The Origin of Species, Stephen Hawking's A Brief History of Time, and a book called Logic for First Graders. Thought that was kind of funny. Anyway, Brian kind of knocks some sense into Meg, lets her know that, you're smarter than this, this is wrong. And at the end of the episode, Meg kind of realizes, oh, yeah, this isn't right. I shouldn't be doing this. And she has a momentary little crisis where she struggles with the meaning of life, etc. And Brian kind of helps her overcome that. And kind of an unusual depiction of atheists in the media, because at the end of this episode, Meg goes from being a fundamentalist to being, in effect, an atheist. She's convinced that atheism is the more reasonable and rational way to view the world after she has a discussion with Brian. So kind of an unusual
I think that there are positive and negative things. I think that in the end, I like that one that Brian talks about evidence. He's one of the few characters. I think House is the only other character on TV who I'm probably going to talk about next. House is the only other character that ever mentions atheism and evidence as a reason for disbelief. The other thing is, I always thought that Brian's argument at the end, was actually fairly mean-spirited, because the one that he brings up is that, what kind of a God would create a universe where you have a smoking hot wife and you take after your dad? You're holding out mom and you take after your dad, who's unattractive. But at the end, I mean, it was after she was mean to him.
Yeah. And after all, it is a comedy show. That's for sure.
It's one of the few shows where the atheist actually stands his ground instead of falling into sort of a vague kind of ecumenical, like, oh, I guess I'll try church sort of thing. But yeah, I thought it was, for the most part, very actually fairly positive. And I think that, Seth MacFarlane, the guy who's the creator of The Family Guy, is an atheist. So, and I think Brian, in many ways, is his character avatar in the show. Avatar. So, really, he was saying something about himself.
Indeed.
We
have time for one more caller, right?
Oh, one last call. Okay. Zem from Bellevue.
Hi, Zem. What do you have for us?
I just wanted to say hi. How are you guys doing?
I'm doing great.
Zem. How are you?
This is the first time I've seen your show, and I started watching it, and I was very intrigued.
Well, this is our first episode, so we're glad you tuned in, and glad we've caught your eye so far. And we are going to be on every Sunday at 3 o'clock, right?
Yes, every Sunday at 3 o'clock on Scan.
Oh, wow. Great. You guys look good. What's the show about? Is it discussing issues around atheism, or is it just kind of a metaphysical, spiritual kind of thing?
Well, it is about atheism. It's about belief. It's about skeptical inquiry. It's about empiricism. It's about actually exploring the claims that people make about the things that they believe, and asking them to back those up with evidence, and also providing our point of view, because a lot of times you don't see a lot of atheists on TV, and giving an idea of what we believe, because there are plenty of people, whether it's Pat Robertson or Ray Comfort, who are happy to talk about us behind our back, and this gives us a chance to get our word into sort of the national conversation.
Right, and also a main purpose of the show is to open up dialogue with viewers like you, perhaps, who might just want to talk to an atheist. Maybe they don't have the opportunity to ask an atheist what they believe about this topic or that, and it's a kind of a way for us to get in touch with the community we live in and say hi. So that's pretty much what it is.
Well, great. I think it's a great idea. I think you guys speak to the issue very clearly and plainly. I don't think a lot of people wonder whether atheists are spiritual or not. And I think it's a good discussion to have with yourself as well as others. So.
Well, thanks, Zem. We appreciate that.
Zem, real quick, I know we have to wrap it up soon, but can you give me your definition of spiritual? We talked about this earlier, and I'm kind of curious. How would you define the word?
Well, that's why I actually called, because I consider myself a spiritual person, but I don't think it gives any credence to what I believe in as far as the higher powers and stuff like that. I tend to think most religions are structured to be bullshit anyway. So.
Oh, sorry about that, Zem. Hope we didn't deafen you there. We're still getting a hang of this.
Sorry about that.
No, that was us. That was all us.
Us, believe me.
But anyway, I forgot the question again. Whenever somebody says spiritual or something like that, my eyes glaze over and I go off into a world that doesn't have that kind of abuse. Thumbs up.
Hey, Zem, could you speak up a little bit? It's kind of hard to hear you, and our sound equipment is getting a little wonky.
Well, yeah, there's something going on my end too, but.
Go ahead.
I forgot what your question was.
Oh,
we were just asking you what your definition of the word spiritual is. What does being a spiritual person mean to you?
Just basically kind of being in the present, being in the now, and getting in touch with myself and what's going on right now.
Okay.
I spend most of my time, just right here, present. And not 5 minutes ahead or 6 days ago and all of that stuff. And it's very freeing for me to actually, kind of wonder about other things,
That's cool. Hey, Zem, I really hate to cut you off, but we are just about out of time and we have to wrap up. But thank you so much for calling in, and I hope you'll tune in again.
Thank you.
Thanks
thank
a lot.
you,
Have a good day.
All right. I think that's about it for us here at Ask an Atheist. We hope that you'll visit us at our website, askanatheist.tv. You can drop us a question, and we'll try to answer it on our next show. Again, we want to thank all our callers. We want to thank our crew, and we want to thank the folks in Austin, Texas, including Matt Dillahunty and the crew down there at the ACA.
And we also want to mention, we are going to get together and eat some delicious salsa and chips at Northgate Azteca at 4:30 p.m. If you would like to join us, come on down. It's going to be fun. We're just going to hang out and have a good time.
All right.
So thank you, everybody. We had a lot of fun, and we will see you again next week.
See you then.